The clouds didn't look right. John stood outside his apartment, squinting at the sky. It wasn't just him. News broadcasts had been running all morning, talking about the strange atmospheric shifts. Massive glowing clouds gathered over cities across the globe. Some scientists said it was a solar flare. Others thought it was volcanic ash suspended in the atmosphere. But no one knew for sure. John turned back to the TV inside, where a live feed from New York showed the same glowing sky. Reporters stood in the streets looking up, fear barely concealed behind their scripted professionalism. "This is unprecedented," one of them said, her voice shaky. Governments around the world scrambled for answers, but the only thing they could agree on was that something was coming. Whatever it wasn't normal. People were scared. Social media was flooded with theories, from the end of days to alien invasion. John's phone buzzed with panicked messages from friends and family. The clouds grew brighter, casting an unnatural light over the world. It wasn't long before the power grids began to flicker, and the signal went out completely. It was then that the mist descended. Deep below the Earth's surface, something ancient stirred. Buried long before human civilization, a dormant technology awakened, triggered by the approach of an unseen force from beyond the stars. This technology, left behind by an ancient alien race, was designed to protect the planet in times of dire need. And now, as a new threat loomed closer, it acted. The first signs were subtle, just a light haze in the air. But as the hours passed, the mist thickened, spreading across cities, forests, oceans. It wasn't like any fog John had seen before. It shimmered, and it seemed to hum faintly. John coughed as it filled the air around him, but there was something more to it than just a physical reaction. He could feel it, moving through him, changing him. The pain hit suddenly. A searing heat spread through John's chest, and he doubled over. His vision blurred, muscles tensed, and his heartbeat pounded in his ears. He wasn't the only one. People across the city dropped to their knees as the mist worked through them, reshaping their bodies, rewriting their DNA. At first, John thought he was dying. His bones ached, his skin burned, and his senses exploded with overwhelming stimuli. But then it was over. He stood shakily, his body feeling strange, unfamiliar. He blinked, eyes adjusting to a sharper focus. He could see the individual cracks in the pavement under his feet. He could hear the hum of electricity in the wires overhead. Others around him were going through the same thing. People staggered to their feet, looking around in confusion. Some were stronger, faster. Others found their minds altered, thoughts becoming sharper, more focused. One man lifted a car off the street with ease, while a woman nearby seemed to move faster than John could track. The mist had changed them. The mist had given them powers. John stared at his hands, feeling a surge of energy he'd never experienced before. Whatever was happening, it wasn't random. The earth itself was preparing for something, and John knew, deep down, that this was only the beginning. The ground shook. Something massive was approaching. John looked up to see a shadow growing in the sky, blocking out the sun. The alien mothership was here. It hovered just beyond the atmosphere, a monstrous, metallic thing bristling with weapons. Smaller ships began to descend from it, swarming toward Earth's surface like a plague. They came in waves, pouring into cities across the world, their intentions unmistakable. Earth was under attack. The military was quick to respond, but their efforts were futile. Fighter jets were torn apart midair by alien craft, tanks reduced to smoldering wrecks in the streets. Humanity's weapons were no match for the invaders' advanced technology. The aliens were methodical, cold, and efficient, decimating defenses without mercy. Entire cities fell within hours. John watched it unfold from his street, helpless, his newfound strength a cruel irony as the world around him collapsed. Panic spread, people screamed and ran, but there was nowhere to hide. Earth was being conquered, one city at a time. But then something shifted within John. It was subtle at first, a strange pull, like a tug deep in his chest. He wasn't the only one. Others who had been changed by the mist felt it too. They were connected, somehow, to the planet itself. The energy that surged through them wasn't just their own, it was Earth's. John could sense it now, as if the ground beneath his feet was alive, guiding him. He knew what he had to do. The invaders weren't just here to destroy humanity, they wanted Earth. But the planet wasn't defenseless. It had given its people a chance to fight back. Instinct took over. John wasn't sure how, but he knew he was meant to resist. He wasn't just John anymore. He was something more, something stronger. He was one of Earth's guardians now, and the battle was just beginning. The mist had vanished, but its effects lingered in the streets. People with newly discovered abilities, now called Earth's guardians, were stepping into a world unprepared for them. Fear settled like a second mist. John wandered through a city that had become something foreign overnight. Some of the guardians embraced their powers with a sense of duty, testing their abilities with quiet determination. Others, though, were clearly overwhelmed, afraid of what they had become. There were those who saw their newfound strength as a license to do whatever they pleased. For the rest of humanity, those without powers, the guardians were both a symbol of hope and terror. Ordinary people watched, wide-eyed, as those around them demonstrated impossible feats. John could hear whispers of fear and resentment. The divide between humans and the enhanced was growing quickly. Panic had led into the streets. Some were in awe of the guardians, while others looked at them like a new threat. Governments scrambled to react, trying to reassert some control over a situation that was already far beyond their grasp. News broadcasts blared messages of caution, urging calm, but the fear of the unknown loomed large. John felt it too. His own powers still felt strange, alien. Every step he took seemed too light, every sound too sharp, every thought too quick. His city, once familiar, now felt like a war zone of confusion and distrust. Somewhere deep inside, he knew he had to do something, but the question was what? Around the world, the Guardians slowly began to organize. Small groups started to form, those who understood their purpose coming together to fight the alien invaders. John found himself gravitating toward others like him. He met a telepath, a woman named Sarah, who could read minds and influence thoughts. There was Marcus, a man with superhuman strength who could crush steel with his bare hands. And then there was Elena, whose speed turned her into a blur of motion. Each of them, like John, had no choice but to adapt to this new reality. The small victories they achieved together were hard-fought. Their first strike against an alien outpost felt clumsy, almost accidental. They weren't soldiers, and the powers they wielded often seemed more dangerous than helpful. Yet, they succeeded. The aliens underestimated them, and John's group managed to destroy key alien machinery, halting a portion of their advance. It wasn't much, but it was the first real win humanity had managed. Still, as they fought, tensions grew. Governments, desperate to maintain control, didn't trust the Guardians. Some officials tried to corral them, regulate them. John had heard whispers of special military units being formed to keep the Guardians in line. The paranoia was spreading. To the unpowered humans, the Guardians were becoming too strong, too unpredictable. Their existence blurred the line between hero and potential oppressor. Inside the ranks of the Guardians themselves, not everyone was on the same side. Different groups had different visions of how to handle their powers and the crisis they faced. John's group, for instance, wanted to protect humanity and drive the aliens back. But there were others who didn't share that goal. Others who didn't believe the fight was theirs to lead it all. It wasn't long before a new faction began to rise among the enhanced. They called themselves the God Complex, a name that was as blatant as their ambitions. They saw themselves not as defenders of Earth, but as the rightful rulers. The Mist, they believed, had chosen them for a reason. Power was not something to be squandered protecting the weak. Marcus, once a trusted ally in John's group, was the most vocal advocate of this ideology. He believed that with their strength, they could rebuild society as they saw fit, ruling over humans who he insidered beneath them. John had never expected to face this kind of division within their own ranks. When he confronted Marcus, it was like talking to a completely different person. The man who had fought beside him, saved lives with him, now stood cold and distant, his eyes filled with superiority. Marcus wasn't interested in protecting anyone anymore. He saw the invasion as an opportunity to reshape the world, not as a threat. John knew this wasn't just a difference of opinion. It was the beginning of a larger conflict. The God Complex wasn't content to sit on the sidelines. They had their own plans, their own followers, and they weren't going to let anyone, not even their fellow Guardians, stand in their way. It was clear now, that the fight against the aliens wouldn't be the only battle John would have to face. The full-scale alien assault was relentless. Swarms of alien ships darkened the skies, and their ground forces, equipped with advanced energy weapons, swept through cities with terrifying precision. The Guardians, with all their newfound powers, could barely keep up. For every alien ship they downed, more arrived, reinforced by legions of mechanical soldiers. These robotic troops were faster, stronger, and more coordinated than anything the Guardians had faced before. Human military forces had long since been decimated. Now, even the enhanced struggled to hold the line. John's team was assigned to take down a key alien outpost. The mission was clear: destroy their command center and cut off their communications. If successful, it would slow the aliens' assault on the Western Hemisphere. The Resistance, desperate and losing ground, pinned their last hopes on this strike. As they approached the alien base, John could feel the weight of the mission pressing down on him. The base was fortified, bristling with alien technology that made human weaponry seem like ancient relics. Energy shields shimmered around the compound, and the mechanical sentinels patrolled with laser-like efficiency. The Guardians made their move, attacking with everything they had. Sarah's telepathy provided crucial intel, while Elena's speed allowed her to disarm traps before they activated. Marcus, wielding his immense strength, broke through the outer defenses. At first, it seemed like they were making progress. The Guardians worked together seamlessly, tearing through the alien defenses. But then, just as they were closing in on the core of the base, the ambush came. Aliens poured in from hidden passageways, cutting off their escape routes. The mechanical soldiers closed in, their energy weapons ripping through the Guardians' ranks. John barely had time to react as a blast tore through the air near him. He watched in horror as one of his teammates was struck down, their enhanced body disintegrating under the force of the alien weapon. Panic gripped the team, and for the first time since the invasion began, the reality of their situation hit John like a freight train. They weren't invincible. The aliens were stronger, smarter, and far better equipped. They were losing, badly. Back at the Resistance base, the internal fractures among the Guardians were growing more severe. The God Complex faction, led by Marcus, had grown bolder in their defiance. Their message was clear: the old world was gone, and they were the new rulers. The invasion, they believed, was an opportunity, not a crisis. Marcus and his followers saw no reason to fight for the humans who feared and mistrusted them. Instead, they began making plans to seize control, hoping to carve out their own empire in the ruins of Earth. John confronted Marcus, his anger barely contained. The Marcus he once knew, the man who had fought by his side, was almost unrecognizable now. Marcus spoke of deals with the aliens, of offering their cooperation in exchange for power. He believed they could rule over humanity, with the aliens allowing them to remain in control as puppet kings. In his mind, it was a practical solution, a way to survive and thrive in this new world. The argument between John and Marcus came to a head. John couldn't believe what he was hearing. They had been chosen by Earth to defend it, not to betray it. Marcus scoffed, dismissing John's idealism as weakness. He argued that humanity was already lost, that the Guardians should stop fighting for a doomed species and instead take their rightful place as rulers. But John knew this was more than just a power struggle. This was about the soul of the Guardians, and Marcus was willing to sacrifice everything for control. Despite the overwhelming despair, there were moments of hope. After the disastrous ambush, John had returned to the base, bruised and battered, but something had changed within him. His connection to the Earth felt stronger, more vivid. He could feel the energy of the planet beneath his feet, a pulsing rhythm that seemed to call out to him. It was as if the Earth itself was guiding him, showing him the way forward. During one quiet moment, while the world around him seemed to crumble, John tapped into that energy in a way he hadn't before. He felt a surge of power. Not like the strength or speed he had experienced earlier, but something deeper, something ancient. It was a reminder that Earth wasn't just a battleground, it was a living entity, and it had chosen them, the Guardians, to defend it. This realization wasn't unique to John. Other Guardians, those who had resisted the allure of the God Complex, began to feel it too. They realized that the key to defeating the aliens wasn't just brute force or tactical prowess. It was unity, both with each other and with the planet itself. The Guardians were stronger when they fought together, when they embraced their symbiotic connection to Earth. Humanity, inspired by the Guardians' resilience, began to rally behind them. Even in the darkest moments, ordinary people found the courage to fight back, standing alongside air-enhanced protectors. John, now more determined than ever, knew that the war was far from over, but for the first time there was a glimmer of hope. The Guardians would find a way to win. Together. The alien mothership loomed ominously over Earth's capital cities, casting shadows across the landscape like a predator ready to strike. This was the moment they had all feared, the final assault, the decisive blow that would either crush humanity or spark its last stand. Across the globe, human forces were battered and exhausted. The military was nearly wiped out, and civilian resistance was faltering. Everything rested on the shoulders of the Guardians. John stood among them, his team of enhanced warriors beside him. They had fought countless battles to reach this point, each one testing the limits of their powers and their resolve. Now, united with what remained of Earth's military and the remnants of civilian fighters, they were ready to face the alien invaders head-on, one last time. The battle was brutal. Alien ground forces flooded the cities, their mechanical soldiers marching in perfect, unyielding formation. Energy blasts and missiles lit up the sky as the Guardians fought back, each of them using their unique abilities to hold the line. John's enhanced strength and connection to the Earth allowed him to shatter the alien machines, while Sarah's telepathy guided them through the chaos, anticipating the enemy's moves. Elena darted through the battlefield like a bolt of lightning, disarming alien weapons and clearing paths for their human allies. But even with all their powers combined, the alien forces were overwhelming. Humanity's numbers were dwindling, and each Guardian felt the crushing weight of impending defeat. As they pushed toward the alien mothership, John could feel the presence of something greater, a mind, an entity directing the invasion. It was the alien leader, hidden within the colossal vessel, watching as its forces ravaged Earth. In a desperate push, John's team reached the core of the alien stronghold, where they confronted the leader. It was a towering figure, radiating power and arrogance. To the alien, humanity was nothing more than an obstacle, an inferior species doomed to be conquered. The leader underestimated them, dismissing their resilience as irrelevant. But John, tapping into the ancient energy embedded in Earth's core, knew better. The same energy that had enhanced them, that had transformed ordinary humans into Earth's guardians, was now the key to their survival. John felt it coursing through him, connecting him to the very planet beneath his feet. Earth itself was fighting back, and through its ancient technology, it had given them the means to disable the aliens' advanced weaponry. With one final push, John unlocked the full potential of his powers, sending a surge of energy through the alien base, short-circuiting their systems and collapsing their defenses. As the Guardians pressed the advance, and victory seemed within reach, a new threat emerged from within their own ranks. Marcus and the God Complex faction had been waiting for their moment, and now they seized it. In the chaos of battle, they had planned to betray both the Guardians and humanity, seeing this as their chance to take control. With the aliens' defeat on the horizon, Marcus and his followers stepped forward to claim the spoils of war. John and his team found themselves caught in a new confrontation, this time not against the aliens, but against their own. Marcus, consumed by his belief that the Enhanced were destined to rule, demanded that the Guardians bow to him and his faction. He saw himself not as a protector, but as the rightful ruler of the new world. John knew that this was the final test, not just of power, but of principle. The battle between John and Marcus was swift and fierce. Marcus, driven by arrogance, had grown reckless. He underestimated John, just as the alien leader had underestimated humanity. John, fueled by his connection to Earth and his belief in unity and cooperation, fought with purpose. Their clash symbolized more than just a struggle for leadership. It was the battle for the soul of the Guardians themselves. In the end, John prevailed. He subdued Marcus, delivering a powerful message to the God Complex faction. There would be no place for tyrants in the new world they were fighting to protect. The Guardians were meant to defend humanity, not rule over it. Cooperation, humility, and resilience had triumphed over arrogance and division. With the alien forces defeated and the God-complex faction broken, Earth began the slow process of rebuilding. The skies, once darkened by alien ships, cleared. The atmosphere, which had sparked the transformation of the Guardians, returned to its natural state. Yet, the world had changed irrevocably. The Guardians remained, not as rulers but as protectors, sworn to watch over humanity and ensure that nothing like this invasion ever happened again. John stood amidst the ruins of what was once a thriving city, now reduced to rubble by war. The cost of victory had been steep. Many had fallen, and the scars of the conflict would linger for generations. But in those scars there was also hope. Humanity, stronger and more united than ever before, had survived. The Guardians, a symbol of Earth's resilience, stood ready to face whatever came next. John reflected on everything that had happened, the transformation, the battles, the losses, and the triumphs. They had been pushed to the brink, but they had endured. Humanity, in all its flawed and fragile beauty, had fought back and won. Together, they had faced the impossible and come out stronger on the other side. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. As long as they stood together, they could overcome anything.